Hi, everyone. This is Cindy, and this is going to be episode number 8 of the Cindy Hales Show. In this episode, I speak with Sonia Sillan of Combat Arts Academy. We talk about gym ownership, about some of the challenges of running a school, how we use different strategies to kind of overcome those challenges, and we talk about competing, training, just lots of different things. It was really great to talk with Sonia. I've known her for a long time and never really had the chance to sit down and have a full conversation with her in this way. So I really appreciate her taking the time, and I hope you enjoy the conversation. Also, if you want to look at other episodes, check them out at cindyhales.com. And as always, once we open back up, come visit me at my school, Sleeper Jiu Jitsu, or you can check us out online at sleeperjj.com. Until then, enjoy this episode with Sonia. So we're live. And
Yay!
so this is Sonia Sillan. And first off, congratulations, you just got married. So I don't know if you have a new last name.
No, same last name, and thank you.
Yes.
Um, and you're actually, I think, the first person to really say my last name correctly the first time. So,
Oh, awesome.
congratulations to you.
Excellent.
Uh,
That's not all. I don't always know if I'm great at that, so that makes me happy.
well, I usually get a Silent or Cillian or Silan
Yeah,
are usually the default pronunciations.
yeah. And you're like the awkward moment or whatever.
Exactly, exactly. But yeah,
Anyway,
no,
so
got married.
congratulations on your marriage. That was awesome. I saw some beautiful pictures of your
Thank
wedding.
you.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of last minute planning. It turned out relatively epic. And I think my favorite part out of all of it was the hip throw at the end. Fully garbed up, dressed up, like hair done, makeup done, and hip throwing each other for the first hip throw, I guess.
For sure.
It was
Yeah, I
pretty
did
cute.
see that picture. So that's awesome. Yeah. So
uh,
thanks for being on my podcast. Let's see. So I met you a long time ago. I think maybe at Gracie Baja, Seattle.
June 23rd, 2010. That was
Okay,
my
so you
first
have
day
it
of
way dialed
birthday.
in.
So that
First
was
day of
my very
class?
first day of jiu-jitsu. Yeah, it was a somersault guard passing on a Thursday with Cindy Hales.
Nogi class? This sounds like a
Uh-huh.
Nogi class, old school Nogi
That was
class.
Nogi. Yes. That was my very first ever class, was with you.
Looking back on that, that seems a little silly.
I know. I was like, wait, I don't know what I'm doing. This is really, really, really hard, but I kind of want to try to be good at this, so I'm going to keep coming back.
For
Yeah.
sure. Well, it's awesome that you did. And here you are. Now you're a school owner and have been in the scene for, let's see, like 10 years. That's awesome.
Hmm.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Of course. Yeah. So, the name of your school, Combat Arts Academy.
Yes.
Yeah. And how long have you been in
Yes.
operation there?
So I've had the gym for 7.5 years. We've been through a few different name changes. I wasn't originally sole owner. I had actually a bunch of partners when we first started in 2012. And through a series of events, I became sole owner and went through a name change, and Combat Arts Academy became the one that represented the vibe of the team.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we have that in common. I think that's the thing I would like to talk to you about is just like being a gym owner, a girl gym owner. I've gone through, lots of different, I would say just like phases of my business knowledge
Yep.
and growth. And to
Yep.
me, the reason I started this podcast really and listening to podcasts in general is because I really like realized I didn't know a lot about business and I didn't know about those kind of techniques. I had open
Yeah.
gyms. I was very much a white belt in the world of business, you know,
Oh no,
and I
absolutely.
wanted to start to talk to people about it and about their experiences. And,
Yeah.
like I started reaching out, like, how can I get all my smart friends to want to talk to me? You know,
Do a podcast.
do a
Absolutely. Yeah.
podcast,
Yeah.
right? And
The
yeah, it's funny because I have like 20 episodes that I've never released because it was just me conning people into talking to me for like 3 hours. And now I like, all this nonsense happened. So I'm like, I need to get them out. And then I
You have
started
so much
doing like
time.
new
Yeah.
ones and old ones because,
Okay.
so yeah, sort of a little sidetrack. Let's get
Oh
back
no.
to,
The
let's talk about, how did it feel, let's say, first just starting a gym? I know when I started teaching at like a blue belt level.
Hmm.
and a lot of anxiety back then about teaching. I had
Yep.
not even like now I like to think I have better skills at teaching as well. Um, besides just competitive jujitsu school skills, some business skills. So yeah, how was that first decision to open a school with some partners, you said?
So we're gonna, I think, backtrack quite a bit for this, because my background and backstory, I started in Taekwondo. So I
Okay.
went through the whole traditional Korean system, super old school, yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir, very traditional. And I ended up teaching kids when I was 14. That was when I started teaching. And then when I was 17, I taught my first adult class in Taekwondo. And so I had that foundation in coaching from way back when. Um, and so let's see, 2012, my then boyfriend at the time really wanted to open up a gym. I was heading down a path where I should have gone to graduate school because I graduated from the UW. I have 2 degrees and a minor, and I was not supposed to be a gym owner. So he really wanted to open one up. He found a black belt. They found a brown belt who also happened to be doing fitness, and they had another friend who's a purple belt. Um, at that time, I was a 4 stripe blue belt. I had just gotten my fourth stripe. Um, and so I was like, you know what? I believe in you. I took a loan out on the card that I owned, maxed out my credit cards, and that's how we started the gym. It was West Seattle Fight and Fitness back then. Um, and then through the process, because I was just coaching kids in the beginning, we kind of started a Taekwondo program. And I didn't start teaching adults until all the drama happened, which we had actually quite a bit of it. Um, with,
Can I stop you really
yes,
quick? Can
absolutely.
I ask you about what did you have your degrees in?
I have a BS in speech and hearing sciences.
Hmm.
And then for funsies, I ended up doing a BA in linguistics because I had most of the classes already fulfilled. And so I just had to take the 5 core classes. And then I ended up getting a minor in Spanish because I also had all of those credits fulfilled too. So
Okay, so that's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, totally
So
different thing, but
gym owner
like you
was
kind of,
way over there. Yeah.
yeah, you studied kind of things you were passionate about, and then like
Yeah.
woof, sucked into jujitsu.
Yeah.
Okay, so now back into you were teaching some taekwondo classes for kids.
Hmm.
You were, I remember the school was in, well, it's the same spot. It didn't change spots when
Yep.
it was there,
Yep.
and yeah, a little drama.
Yes. And then I don't want to get into like name dropping or anything, but when my ex had left, I was a 4 stripe female blue belt still, and I was running this entire gym on my own, coaching the adult classes. I had imposter syndrome so hard because I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I can teach guard. I don't play a lot of top game. I have very basic fundamentals of jujitsu. I don't know what I'm doing. Um, and so the one thing I knew was how to connect to people, and then that I had to believe in myself to be able to like, do that. And so I had to start making really big decisions for the business, like leaving that team. I left a really big name team because they didn't have my back. I joined another local affiliation because I thought I needed somebody else to kind of help me out. But our visions didn't line up because I was really big on community and always finding best practices. So then I left that team. Um, and so through all of this, I'm evolving my game, I'm evolving my coaching, I'm evolving my relationships, and I'm finding, um, and this might sound weird, it might not, like I'm always a very honest person. Um, and I've been working on finding other people that also line up with that same kind of like core belief system of honesty and transparency and just being super genuine. And so through that process, like I've developed an awesome coaching team and I found the confidence to like fully coach like adults on my own, um, and just to really be that coach, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean that's well, congratulations on that because that's commendable. I know, I've been coaching for a long time. It's very, very hard. I think, I suffer from imposter syndrome, and I think I'm
Yeah.
getting better about it. I'm like finding the confidence and like, well, this is what I do, and you know, this is where I specialize. And if you don't
Yep.
like it, that's totally okay. But this is my mission. I also like, man, I found that it's super valuable to align yourself with those people that have the same vision as you. Um,
Absolutely.
that in the last 2 years, I spent looking to buy a gym or looking to start a gym, and then how would that go? And the best decision I think I can say I made would be like I picked the best partner that has the
Hmm.
exact same vision as me, and there's always like sidetracks and problems, right? Like in life,
Yep.
there's always things come
Yep.
up, but we always have the same vision. We're super like proactive about talking about things, being super honest, um, tackling the problems before they really become problems. He has
Exactly.
the strengths that I don't have. It's business people and then me. And so we definitely balance each other out, and then being
Hmm.
able to have the freedom to build the team more from there with my vision.
Exactly.
Um, so yeah, that's really exciting that you've come to a place. I've watched your gym, and I watch everyone's gym locally, and it's like you have a really strong team, uh, and that's really great to see. I'm always in support of girl gym owners, female gym owners.
Hmm.
There's not a lot of them. Um, yeah. So, what are some ways that you were able to overcome like some of your problems or your not your issues.
Oh
You know what
gosh.
I
Oh
mean,
no,
like
there's always
the
issues. um, I mean, actually, let me ask you this. Like, what do you find has been like your biggest challenge in being like a female gym owner? Like, what's been your biggest challenge so far?
having self confidence,
Yeah.
having the confidence to like uh feel I could be out on my own, to feel that I was like valuable on my own, to like
Yep.
really, I suffer from, like I said, the imposter
Yeah.
syndrome. Like, no one's going to really like think this, or I need, and then that manifested itself in a way of like always needing to prove myself. And then
Hmm.
that manifested itself in a litany of injuries,
Fair.
right? Okay.
Oh,
And,
I
and
remember
all
that
of
knee
these
brace.
things.
I remember that knee brace with your Bora Bora guard when we first started developing that. Oh,
Hmm.
that knee brace was so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had a
Oh,
cervical fusion.
yeah.
I've had like my eye orbital broken. I've had a massive shoulder rebuild. I've had like 8 knee surgeries. So it was like
Oh my
all
gosh.
always trying to find my place. I started in
Yeah.
2000, 2001,
Yeah.
and it was a different environment. I think for everyone it was a different environment. It was I think everyone did their best in that environment, but it was you know, the Wild West. It was a little, I came from the punk rock community, so it was like we're just like doing
Yep.
what we can. We're like doing the best we can, and I think that's ultimately what people do in life. And it's like, man, I always just try and reflect on like some of the things and like how can I do it better, and like really honestly reflect on like where am I lacking? How can I get better at this? Who can I like find that's going to help me with these skills? And then,
Hmm.
I think I've really come into my own like finding a partnership team that fully believed in me. They didn't just say they believed in me. When there are huge
They really
problems,
did.
dude,
Hmm.
I've had some
Yep. Yep.
huge problems lately where I could be like, I would want to dump Cindy because, it was really hard. And it
Yeah.
was like, they're like,
Yeah.
we got you. We've got you. It's okay. Right? Not, it's just like the
Yes.
problems didn't go away, but they're like, they answered the phone. They were there. They provided space for me to like, I like to like process things and work on things and be like super like reflective. And some people don't like to
Hmm.
do that. And I found guys that are like, yeah, that's how we're going to build a great business. Right.
Yep.
And so that's been like having people, having finding a situation and putting myself in a situation where I could feel confident. Right. That's been, I think, the best thing that I've done lately to really like tackle a lot of the problems that I saw continually holding me back. Like I feel like there were like all these patterns of problems that like, oh, if I'm not like blaming it on the surface problem, if I'm really looking at the root of this problem, it comes back to the same thing, and it's a lack of self confidence that I get into these situations, you know.
Hmm.
And it's like once I surrounded myself with the right people that were like able to work with me, I'm a little intense, and I found the people that can like work with me and handle me and like focus my energy and like help me feel confident. And that's been like the best thing. And so yeah, it's like, and then talking to other people and like, dude, you had these problems, it's like I kind of felt
Everybody
like
does. Hmm.
but we don't always hear about it, I guess.
I feel like that ties back into two things, and both of these apply to me. And this is one thing I talk about in every single women's self-defense seminar that I do, because I preface, like, I'm not an expert. These are my experiences. But women, like, for me, growing up in like that kind of Indian household, I was never super confident. And if you told me 10 years ago that I would be running a gym on my own, teaching co-ed classes, doing jujitsu and fighting, I would have been like, hell no, that's not me. That's not who I am. That's not a part of me. Like, I will never do that. I hate public speaking. Like high school, I hated public speaking. I stuttered through every word on every presentation. I had no self-confidence. Um, and so I know for me, that biggest thing was figuring out how to believe in myself, that I was capable enough to do this, that people really wanted to like hear from me and learn from me. Like I went through years of like I was a blue belt, owning a gym, then a purple, then a brown. Um, and I finally feel like truly grounded in my coaching. And I've been coaching for more than half my life at this point. Um, and so women tend to not believe in themselves as much because that's kind of that societal norm that was established, you know. Um, and like for me, that was a cultural thing. That was part of my upbringing. Like I just didn't believe in myself enough. And then with that comes back into gym culture, and I think this is the other biggest thing for female gym owners. Um, and it's not being afraid of doing things differently
Mhm.
and being able to call people out and set the culture for the gym that you truly want. Because for us, like we have 50% women in some of our classes, if not more. Our moms are the die-hard uh, students. I mean, they call themselves as hashtag Murder Mom Squad. They're the ones. I'm not even kidding. Like
Yeah.
that is their hashtag. Like we had 2 rounds of blue belt testing, and Professor Roland's testing is not testing. It's a gauntlet. Like you die in such a good way. It is the hardest thing you'll ever do in your life. We had 4 women back to back testing for their blues. So 8 for 8 were women. Was it eight? 6. I can't count anymore. It was
Yeah.
some crazy number. No, it was 8. Yeah, we had 8 women back to back get their blue belts, and that's how committed they are. But it's because of the culture that we're setting. Um,
Yeah.
there is no inequality of treatment because when I started, I think it was me and you, and I think we had one other woman training. And I remember I got hit on quite a bit, or I got smashed. There's no like middle ground. I couldn't talk to anybody about my experiences because it was just the way it was, you know? And being able to
Hmm.
set that culture, that's been, I think, the biggest obstacle that I've been working to overcome because my gym's at this place where there is true respect and it's truly equal and everybody like you have a voice, you are safe and comfortable to be yourself regardless of how quote unquote weird it might be because weird is normal. Like you can be
Hmm.
yourself and that's what I'm trying to cultivate and create, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think,
Yeah.
the nice thing about being a gym owner is that you can create that culture. And I think, as a girl that came up in like, where, again, I'm not going to say like, oh, this was terrible or that was terrible, but it's definitely not maybe how I would do it moving forward, you
Yeah.
know? Um, and really being like super reflective on that and like looking at like, hey, I want to be in a gym where I would feel comfortable, where everyone feels comfortable.
Mhm.
And, and it I think across the board, many people want that culture, and if
Absolutely.
you don't buy into that culture, then definitely it's not the place, and like having the confidence to to not let people infringe on the culture.
Mhm.
I have like a very open door policy, but it's like we have the rules and this is the way the culture works, and it seems to almost self-select,
Exactly.
and that's like been really good where it's like I don't feel the need to. I've been in a place running a gym where it's like so nervous about finances, so nervous about like my ego or something, like needing
Mhm.
to like, oh, I'm gonna change something for this or that, and it's like being able to just be like, no, again, here's my mission. I feel super confident about the mission of wanting like a gym where everyone feels comfortable. I have those
Mhm.
classes where it's like half women, you know. I
Yep.
have tons of kids. I have, my bread and butter is families. We have people who compete. They're super tough. You know, if someone comes in with the goal of being a fighter, I'm like, I can't even offer that right now. That's not what I offer.
Yeah.
Um, and being like okay with that. I used to think like, oh, maybe I should offer that. And it's like, no, no, no. Right now, here's what we're doing. And just like that's like I will refer people to like, hey, I know who does offer this, and I think that would be a great place for you. And like
Yeah.
being able to be really like okay with that, and then really like bringing to the table a level of like professionalism and service that it's like, I came from the corporate world. And I think I was a customer service person, and it's like that there's a real thing to that. And I think sometimes in the culture of jujitsu or in martial arts, that gets lost to the hierarchy of, belts or, you know, deference over like something like that. And
Uh,
it's like,
uh,
you know what? Everyone's important in my gym. You
yeah.
don't need to be a competitor. You don't need to be any kind of person. If you come in the door, I'm going to be fully present and engaged in your training, and everyone here, is going to respect that, like everyone else. And that's like, I think the way to drive like a great business. Um,
Absolutely.
so that's, yeah, it's really cool, I think, to see really the scene progress in that way.
Hmm. The I think a lot of that ties into and it's a little bit of that old school top down mentality. Like, hey, I'm the owner, I'm the black belt, I'm the whatever I am. You have to listen to me and do what I say. Like, you're in my gym. It it's not That's not respectful, and that's what we teach the kids, right? We treat other people the way that we want to be treated. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I had a black belt at one point tell me a purple belt should never tell a black belt what to do. That was a legitimate line tossed my way when I, as the owner, was trying to tell my head professor my expectations. Because when students are quitting, when retention isn't there, when your presence isn't enough, like it affects business. And that is where I am a black belt. That's what I've been doing for the last 7.5 years, and my entire life has been in my gym. It is literally all I do. But the rank got pulled like, hey, a purple belt shouldn't tell a black belt what to do. And that's where, like, oh, that one, I did not stand up for myself in that moment, and I really should have, because it is my business, it is my baby, it is what my entire life is. Like, if it affects my business, it is my right to have a conversation with you about it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
rank can't get pulled because it's not collaborative, right? Like, you can't be a good team if you can't collaborate and communicate about what is and isn't working. And that's how you get better, and that's what you do, is you're always looking for the best practice. Like, I don't settle. Like, every year or two, like, nah, that's an exaggeration. Every 6 months to a year, we have some sort of big change happening, whether it's a remodel project or a schedule change or a program change or something, because we're always looking at, like, hey, this isn't working. What can we do to fix it? Because as the gym grows, it evolves. And as it evolves, you have to also evolve your practices and what you're doing and what works and doesn't work, and continually reassess. And that's how I operate, is every 6 months to a year, I'm like, hey, this isn't working. We have to fix this thing.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Well, I've noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always see you guys improving, and you have like, always fixing up the gym. You have a really beautiful gym. You have
Thank
the,
you. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. It's a great space. So, man, being in gyms and running gyms for a long time, it's like
Hmm.
I don't think everyone always understands like what goes into it. It's
Yep.
like it's a lot, and it's not like woe is me. It's just like when you see other people doing it, it's like always nice to like be like, dude, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's like man, it's a lot of effort and a lot of passion, and it's like man, it's a hard job, and so yeah, I always, like I said, just am really excited to see other people doing it and other women, especially being super successful. Another thing that I want to talk to you about is
Hmm.
like you do a lot of stuff with girls and geese.
Yes.
Yeah, so tell me about kind of your relationship with girls and geese, how you started helping them, and all of that.
So Girls and Geese, I think the first chapter or the first event that we had up here, I was super excited because we needed unity with the women in the Pacific Northwest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some gyms are lucky if you have one or two women that train consistently. Um, and so I just reached out and I started becoming a volunteer for each event. I don't have the time to commit to be a full brand ambassador. Um, but I help at each event as often as I can. And it's just really cool to see like all the women coming together, the local brand and black belts step up and teach. It's just super awesome to see that community.
Yeah, I think we have a great community here. It's been, I was one of the early people in the scene here, and it's been
Hmm.
like really, really cool to see what it's kind of grown into. I have so much like I'm so excited for like the future in the Northwest.
Yeah.
I see everyone's kids teams, and I see like man, there's a lot of good girls. Uh, I see a lot, of course the tournaments aren't as like well populated as I would like them to be.
Hmm.
Competing, you do some competing. I know you've done some jujitsu and some grappling. You've also done some kickboxing. Have you done MMA
Hmm.
yet, or only
I
kickboxing?
have, yes.
You have
I've
done
done
MMA.
MMA was the first venture into the fight world. That was
Okay.
almost 3 years ago. 3 years ago? Yeah, I didn't have a very good takedown game, and I just didn't have a very good pressure game, and it was a very interesting first couple of fights. It was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
But then I told myself I had to step up my striking. And so from there, I switched to focusing on Muay Thai, and I fell in love with elbows and fighting Muay Thai.
Yeah.
And so I've competed quite a bit. I've had, I want to say about 10 to 11 fights by now, including Muay Thai, kickboxing, and MMA.
Awesome.
But the hard part, and if you can probably relate, is that balance between fight training and life. Because for me, it's the when you fight train, you get selfish with it, training 2 to 3 hours a day, focusing on like your entire like fight camp, and then everything else kind of slacks a little bit. And so for me, every time I fight, I switch back to business mode where I go to training like
Mm-hmm.
maybe an hour a day instead of 2 to 3 hours a day. And so balance, I think, was the hardest thing um, when I have a fight coming up, if that
For
makes sense.
sure. I can
Yeah.
see that, well, I fought and I tried to balance those. I wasn't a gym owner, but I was teaching.
Hmm.
And, through some of my fights, I was full-time employed. And man, yeah, it was very hard.
Yeah.
It's like I realize now a lot of things. It's like Cindy, you just have to be like even more regimented
Yeah.
with your time management. I try to like look at other people that I see that are really busy and like, man, how did they do it? And it's like, it's the Jocko thing. It's
Discipline.
like
It.
you get
Yes.
up earlier is what you do, or you work a little
Yes.
harder, or you grind a little more.
Yep.
And I learned that through fighting.
How many
That
fights have
was
you had?
I had 4 fights. When I started
Yeah.
fighting, I had one amateur fight. I had an amateur. I guess I could say I had a kickboxing fight. Didn't really count that one. And then I had an amateur fight, and then I went my second fight. Uh, I fought pro in LA, and then I fought Megumi Fuji in Japan. Um, and then I fought somewhere else in New Zealand. But you know, my biggest bane kind of on all of my career at this point, and I think even when I was fighting, was injuries.
Yeah.
I would say for several years I was getting like a severe injury every couple years. Like I said, I had a cervical fusion that took me
Right.
out for a year because someone, I was like getting slammed on my head, and people, it was different. I'm like a lot of this process of like talking about like training back then. I kind of used to joke and I thought I had PTSD. That like,
Oh no.
the
Yeah.
training was very hard. And I'm very little. I'm not very big. And I just trained with mostly dudes that like,
Yeah.
it was different. And so, that plagued me a lot in my fighting. I really enjoyed fighting. I really would like to do it more, but now I'm like, no, you need to be responsible and shift that focus. I am like staving off a knee replacement. I also played competitive racquetball as a child and blew out my
Oof.
knee when I was 13. So,
Really?
yeah, so I had like
Okay.
many former lives of Cindy. So that was a problem. Yeah, so it's really like now another thing that I'm like really working on besides becoming like is like coming to terms with like being older.
Yeah.
That had to be kind of in conjunction with like how do you go I know a lot of times I can say like I think in many areas of life, people garner respect through like intimidation and, those sorts of channels.
Mhm.
And I think in jujitsu, sometimes like respect in the early days in the room was often garnered with like who is a winner, who is a tough guy.
Yeah, that
And
little bit
so
of ego play.
so it's like, I definitely like I'm like, no, you garner respect with your actions and like your words now and like how you treat people,
Yeah,
and like trying to that's like
absolutely.
goes to the culture thing, of like, no, no,
Mhm.
no, I and no one can ultimately win that game because everyone gets older, right? And
Absolutely, yeah.
I see some other people like wrestling with that concept, and it's like, dude, it's interesting to be like, man, you know, I just want to be able to like walk when I'm older. There's like
Oh yeah.
I went through quite, and I'm not saying other people always did it to me. I was very, very competitive. I was very focused and obsessed. I have that kind of personality. And so it's like now I'm focused on like how can you train responsibly, I think as a coach? How can I like make
Yep.
sure that other people don't incur those injuries while also not bumpering people too much? You
Yep.
know, I think there's all these balances that I like really think about a lot in my head because it's like I want to like give people the full like experience, but I want them to
Mhm.
understand the consequences. You know, I
Yes.
have a father that was a football player, and he's like got some of the CTE issues, I think, and it's like you look at that in sport, and then I know like the injuries that I've incurred. It's like, how can I teach people this skill and let them like grow in it and really experience it, but keep them as safe as possible?
Yep.
I really obsess on that.
Do you have like a foundational versus advanced kind of program set up in your gym, or like how do you guys do your intro sessions?
Well, I just started the gym here in this location. So for a
Hmm.
while, that was more older students. For a year,
Yeah.
I ran just this like pared down core out of
Yep.
a karate school. Wasn't even getting new students, just so we did more like advanced classes in that. Now that I've shifted, I have some advanced classes and some beginner classes. And actually, we're going to be moving to the model where there's an intro program, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
it's not just come in and try out a class. You need to wait. We'll have an intro program that you sign up for and have a little group and where it's very controlled.
Okay.
I want to make sure that people don't learn the somersault pass on their first day, right? I think that's like a very hard entrance
Yeah.
into jujitsu. To make sure people, I think it's good. It gives people a chance to have a little group that bonds them. I think it's also a great way to set the culture within each
Hmm.
first, incoming group of students. So we're gonna do that where it's probably like a 6 week, 8 week thing, and then integrate into a basics class and then into a advanced class.
There
But
you
even
go.
scaling it back from just the basics class, like, okay, we're gonna bring like say this first group in and then move through. I think, I've talked to a lot of people while I had time down. I've run a lot of schools. I've seen lots of different ways, and I'm like, that's the way that I feel you get
Hmm.
the best experience for people first in and the safest experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you
We
guys do it?
So we call it level one and level two. So
Uh-huh.
level one's the rotating, I think 12 or 16-week curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
And so people can jump it at any point. The nice thing for us is we have a good number of like blue belts and above that will continue to attend the level one classes. And so they end up helping out new students. So if we have like a brand new day one student, they have a blue belt buddy that'll actually guide them through everything step by step by step. And so level one, there's very minimal like resistance. So you learn the
Mm-hmm.
position. You might have like a little bit of progressive resistance, like working specifics. Like for example, if you're doing closed guard sweep, so working the sweep with like a little bit of pressure to see if the timing is there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so once you get your first stripe, which is usually 8 weeks, the longest I think I've seen is 6 months, then you can move to level two.
Mm-hmm.
And level two, we push the pace, and that's where you get to kind of, you're not thrown in there, but you kind of are because you get to see like what that you, you get to experience what that intensity is. And the nice thing is there too, you have the more advanced students that also want to help you out and help you figure out like what sparring is and help you like guide you through step by step like what level two is going to be like.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, I really, I feel super lucky for the core group of students that I have, the like
yeah,
higher belts, because they all kind of, it's like that, like we're all geared to the mission of like helping people. Do you know
yep,
what I mean? That is like, that's the way that I believe like I can give the most to jujitsu. And I try to like make sure everyone believes that like coming in. Do you know what I
and
mean?
that's
Like,
your core. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a reflection of you as the top of like that kind of lead by example like philosophy, right?
yeah. And I've had students that told me like, I don't like how you make the higher belts like help new people. And it's like, mm, okay. But it's like, I don't really understand if you know what you're saying there. Like, you don't want to help people.
But see,
And
that's
it's
where
just
like
like, it's like, okay, well, you can go somewhere else. They went somewhere else, and it was just like, I
yeah,
respect that. I think maybe there were times where I had that attitude, but it's
yeah.
like, eh,
If we
okay,
get that type of like pushback, like that's fine. You can keep attending like level
yeah,
two classes. You don't have to help a brand new person. Just don't come to level one. Because
yeah,
if you're advanced enough, like you're expected to be able to help. So it's your choice. And so that's the biggest thing. It's
totally,
like you get to make a choice, but it's the collective culture that we have right now. It's like everybody wants to help. And if
yeah,
you come into that culture not wanting to help, like somebody will talk some logic into you because we're very like team oriented. Like the amount of support, the amount of lifting each other up is really
yeah,
big right now. Um,
yeah.
but
Well,
that's the
that's how you
culture.
get through
Yeah.
things. I think that's like,
Hmm.
community is important. And like, yeah, helping people, I think, is at the heart of that, like service,
Yeah.
being of service. Um,
Well, and the flip side of that too, if you think about it, like for example, for us, like there are all of these people there to help us, right?
mhm,
So when we get to this point, now we're giving back, we're helping everybody else. And same thing, like if you're a higher belt, like somebody was there to help you in the beginning. It's now your job to also help those people too. And
for
that way you
sure.
build up your team to your same level. So you build up your training partners too.
Yeah, it's that like rising tide raises all ships, It's like
Yeah.
you quickly want to do that, and it's like, yeah, it's I think being a martial artist, like I didn't really embrace that. I think I didn't come from a martial arts background.
Hmm.
I'm actually kind of enamored with people who did at this point because it's like, because I hear people who have those stories of like, a wonderful experience as a child coming up and learning these lessons, and it's just like, oh yeah, I kind of think I missed out on that. I didn't do that. I didn't have that, and it's
Yeah.
like, I came out as a sport, just wanted to do some sports, wanted
Hmm.
to learn the thing I saw in UFC, and then it's like as I've been in it, it's like the opportunity to like create a culture, foster characteristics,
Yep.
and it took me a long time to learn a lot of lessons. And it's like, man, if I can pass those on a little sooner, that might be better, and like what kind of
Totally.
impact I have. Like, I want to have a certain kind of impact. I have students, well, Tenoch is always my go to. I think I like filter things through the frame of Tenoch, the lens of the student that I've had since he was 5, and now he's
Hmm.
16. It's like, how will he look at me when he's 40? Right?
Exactly.
How will he and like how look back on the experience? How will any kid? It's like Tenoch is just kind of the model for that. And I really try to like I think, coaches have the opportunity to be very impactful. Um,
Hmm.
I wish I had a Mr. Miyagi coach as a kid. I was just sort of, I did a lot of sports,
Yeah.
but I was just like a little bit obsessive and self-driven and I moved a lot and didn't, I think I maybe missed out on some of those things. Just was like, so yeah, I'm like, dude, maybe I could have that impact. I don't know. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's, I think, my favorite thing about coaching kids is that connection to each kid and helping them be better and do better because now you're building up awesome little leaders that are going to go out
Yeah.
there and change the world. Whether it's
Totally.
in jujitsu or something completely unrelated, now you're building these solid kids that have confidence, that exude respect, that
Hmm.
have a high like standard of like integrity. Right now, you're
Yeah.
helping to shape these like little future leaders.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. It's like, I see it as a great opportunity. I know jujitsu's done like a lot for me. It's
Hmm.
opened up tons of opportunities. It's given me a job. It's been the reason I've been able to travel and all, meet a
Yep.
ton of people. Like, honestly, like, meet all the people that I've met. It's like, dude, you probably feel this way. It's like,
Oh yeah.
I know a ton of people, just through jujitsu, through 20 years of like being at tournaments and like being in the scene and just like people rolling in. And it's like, man, if people like, it's a community thing. It's like,
Well, you
yeah,
also have people that understand you too. That's the difference because finding somebody who also understands somebody else that obsesses and trains full time
yeah,
is really hard to do. So you not only meet a lot of different people, you meet people that actually understand kind of the core of who you are. So that's, I
yeah.
think, the really cool part of that.
Yeah, it's been cool on this podcast because it's like a lot of my like podcast guests are jujitsu people, and it's like they tend to be obsessive in other areas. You know?
Oh, you would love to talk to Professor Roland. We'll have to set that one up. He's got stories for days.
Oh yeah, and I know. So I know we have a mutual friend besides you is
Uh-huh.
Luis.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
love Luis.
yeah, so I've heard of Roland and like Matt Roland through Luis before, but never had time to sit down and actually like talk with him. Yeah, there's so many like people in jujitsu that it's like, dude, you do all a little
Yep.
obsessive and lots of cool things. So yeah. Well, I know, let's see, now is coronavirus time. How's that impacting your school and impacting your life, and how are you staying sane with it?
I made a blanket. Actually, here, let's see if I can hold this up. It's really comfy. I crocheted a wonderful little throw blanket and it's like super soft and fuzzy.
Oh,
Yeah, I made a
nice.
blanket. I made a
Sweet.
blanket. Um, aside from that, like the first couple of weeks were pretty rough. Um, because like the decision making process, we ended up closing, I think it was that Thursday before the official directive. Um, and 'cause in a lot of schools were like, we're going to be the last one standing, like we're not going to shut down, like we're going to wait. For me it was the, because one thing I don't look at what's best for me. I look at what's best for my students, my team, and my staff, because I have a ton of coaches too. And what was best for everybody, because the whole COVID-19, everything was the unknown, like we didn't know what the best option would be, so we did close down. um, and it definitely has impacted business. Like I know it's impacted business for everybody. Like we've had quite a bit of cancellations and holds, just like I'm sure many schools are experiencing. Um, we don't do contracts as a gym. We don't do commitments, so we don't have any sort of like typical gym policy attached to our membership. Um, so the nice thing for us is we had people who were that were financially able to contribute. They chose to continue to support the gym to help payroll and operating costs. And the people who weren't able to, there wasn't any stress about canceling or holding their memberships, because this is the time for community to really come together. And so we're like, for me at least, like this is one team. Like we're here to help to kind of take care of each other, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I know it's really hit, everyone really
yeah,
hard. And so it's like, yeah, I just really, really like hope for the best with all of it. And we all have to stick together and kind of, just ride it out. I think, it's like you
yeah,
said, the unknown of it, it's very hard. It's just like, I think staying calm and like watching as it unfolds and doing the best
yep.
thing. It's like jujitsu. Don't freak out,
Exactly. Well,
right?
and one thing I told, 'cause I've had a lot of students, it's the because I had one who just felt like they were getting over a blue belt plateau. There's one who just started, she was maybe 2 months in. She was like, I just felt like it was making sense. I had another one who was 3 months in, and she was like, oh, but it's so close to level two. And so
Mm-hmm.
the analogy I gave, and I had a really good one. I don't quite remember, but it's kind of like, it's like every time you kind of get somewhere in life, the universe decides to give you a big old obstacle for you to either jump over, run around, deal with, figure it out. This is just another obstacle because, again, like we're all set back to a degree. It's just a matter of how much you want it. Like if you want to be good at jujitsu, then when the doors open back up again, same. We just put the work in and keep building. Even if you feel like you got set back, that's okay because that's what life does to you, you know?
Totally, totally.
Um,
I agree. It's like, it's easy to kind of, I think, allow yourself to fall into like kind of like feeding into all of it. But
Yeah.
it's like it's also like just like okay, trying to engage with like what you can do. It's like there's so many things that we can do, and just like yeah, life is always going to hit you with craziness. It's like my partner reminds me, it's like, dude, it's not going to be any better. It's just this is life. It's just like just
Yeah.
kind of it's like you're just like being. I'm just being here, and this is what's happening, and it's like that's all you can really do. And it's like I've learned like, man, I try not to freak out about it. I went through
Yeah.
like a lot of hard times, and it's like the more you like freak out about it, it doesn't make it better. You just suffer longer. You suffer the like it's like you suffer the thought of it. You suffer like up until it happens, and it may never even happen. It's like, dude,
Hmm.
I just suffered for something that didn't even happen. It was all in my
Yep.
mind. So it's
The whole
just like,
anxiety. Yep. The
don't worry about that.
I feel like for people that have gone through enough hardships, like the in was it 2015 when my and things were kind of falling apart. Like we lost a ton of students. There's instability. My ex opened up a gym down the street, pretty much in Burien, and there's a lot of unknown and a lot of anxiety. And I almost had to close my doors a couple of times because I didn't know how I would keep them open. Um, I think after having experienced something like that, plus all the hardships and setbacks and changes, like this is just another one of those things. So for me, it's like I had like a little bit of that kind of anxiety in the beginning, like, oh no, what's happening? This is
Mm-hmm.
not good. Like I had the oh crap, like that whole like this is not happening right now because we're finally at such a good point. And I was like, you know what? It's okay. I've been through some bad stuff. This is just
Mm-hmm.
another round of that. It'll get better. No big deal. You know.
Totally.
You have to talk yourself kind of down from that and just like look at solutions and options. Like we just switched to online classes this last week. And
Yep.
so now we're talking through what that's going to look like. What's our game plan? Like, what if we're closed longer than May 4th?
Mm-hmm.
Then how do we continue operating on an online model? What can we
Mm-hmm.
have our students do? Like we're offering things like parent hour for the parents to be able to talk about like their stresses because when
Yeah.
you're working full time and teaching your kids full time at home and parenting full time, like that's three full time jobs in one sitting. You can't do that. Um, we have
Yeah.
yeah, it's just insane. So we're trying to offer all these different support options for our parents too.
That's what, yeah, I haven't moved fully online model. I've been just doing some
Yeah,
videos like YouTube. I'm not doing like the Zoom yet, or anything, but
yeah,
like doing some of that and just like staying connected with people and reaching out. And it's like really just kind of like what do people need? Because it's like it's the
yep,
unknown, and it's like
yep,
the unknown of like what do people need? I don't even know if we know because no one knows, and it's just like really being like, well, what people need is you to reach out and to be there, and
yep.
it's been nice with the podcast, like oh, I can little like reach out with that. I've had people like, oh man, I missed like someone was like, I missed Ivan so much, and I got to listen to you and him talk shit, and it's like, yeah, and just like different little things, calling up people and checking on people. It's like that's what's going to get everyone through ultimately. And then we can go back to, you know, actually being in real life, like in
I
person.
know.
Oh man, it'll be nice. It'll be like, all these things. Every day I think of a new thing that like, dude, I never thought of that was going to be impacted. It's really crazy. And then
Hmm.
when we go back, it's like, there's going to be so many little things that I never thought of that I'm going to like love so much again.
Oh, for me, it's the high fives. All the high fives with the kids.
Yeah.
That's I've been like air fiving. I'm just like this is not the same. Or at the end of each class, we bring it in. We go CAA on three, like that little tiny, like just a little tiny ritual. I
Mm-hmm.
miss that.
Yeah,
Oh,
me and the kids do what's new, and I miss that, and just like the culture of it. But it's like, yeah, we're so lucky in so many ways of like what we do have. We have like the interweb and all the, we can
I
do all
know.
these things. So, yeah. Well, let's see. I want to make sure I'm not making you late for your online class. It's 2:50. What
Oh,
time is
that's
your
okay.
class? Is it 3?
So we actually shifted it to four because I
Okay.
wanted to give it adequate time. So we're good. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I was like, okay, don't make her miss her class.
Well, the
Man,
nice thing too is I was kind of debating going for a run. So if this runs a little bit over, I get to skip my run, which I'm okay with that. The other thing, I've been crocheting. I've also been running. I I'm not a runner. I never, and this actually falls into, this is a different category of conversation, but the a lot of people limit themselves. So my entire life, I was like, I can't run because I had hip issues. I had hip surgery. I didn't do rehab after that surgery. I started training jujitsu, and I hated running because I had hip issues. I had a lot of scar tissue and all of that stuff. And then last year, before one of my fights, my coach was like, "You should go run." I was like, "Fine, screw it. I can do this." And I
Yeah.
ran 2 miles, and I was like, "What the heck? I can actually run." Like, I was the slowest kid in middle school. I had the slowest mile time. I could oftentimes not finish that fourth lap because of my hip. Like, I was not a runner. Like, running more than a mile was out of the question for me. And so I ran 2 miles. And I'm like, what the hell? I can run. And I realized, like, that entire time I had just been like limiting myself. And so now I I have to talk myself into it, but I'll go run like 2 to 3 miles every other day just to like get my body moving, and to be outside. That's the nice part. Is being outside, taking the side streets where there's nobody else out. Like, it's been really nice.
Yeah, swimming was like that for me. I was like not a swimmer. I remember being a
Hmm.
swim. My mom put me in swimming as a child, and I was so terrible at it that I pretended I was tangled in the ropes during a swim meet. I remember doing that, and I'm like, Cindy, that doesn't make any sense. But it was like one of those things that like maybe a 5-year-old does. Like I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. But man, I went and started learning to swim. I can't swim now, but it was like, yeah, it's I that was like a huge self limiter. I'm really into identifying those kind of things. I do that all the
Yeah.
time, like self-limiting thoughts. Um, I'm actually like ridiculous with those. Yeah, but when you identify it and they're like, why did I set my bar so low?
Yep.
And then it's like, dude, kick it up higher. Um,
I ban the
yeah,
words I can't, and I'll never be able to. Like, you can't say those in front of me, or else I will like make you do burpees or push-ups. It's the I can't yet. I can't yet do it. Or
yeah.
the I will get better at this, but if you say I'm never going to be able to do a cartwheel, I will give you burpees for negative self-talk like that, because you will be able to one point if you actually want to do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and just keep trying. Yeah,
Hmm.
keep on the journey. Yeah, I find that when I do those things and just kind of like catch myself, it's like, yeah, you can really do way more than you think.
Yeah.
It's like I learn the lesson and then I forget it, and then I learn it again, and then I forget it, or I know it in this arena of my
Hmm.
brain, but not in this other aspect of my brain. So yeah, it's like always a constant battle to just like want to do those things and stay focused and driven and constantly self-improving. I think that, that's the name of the game for anything, whether it's jujitsu, whether it's life in general. It's just like
Yeah.
constantly like, what more can I do? I achieved this. What more can I do? And kind of setting ridiculous goals. Lots of the different people I've talked to lately, they're like, oh yeah, I wanted to do this thing. I saw people doing this thing, never identified myself as one of those kind of people, right?
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, I just changed the narrative, and now I identified as that kind of person, and here I am doing it. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yes.
yeah.
Yes. We've had a couple of because one thing we've been doing for active members in our gym, because we have the tatami, the mat squares, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you're an active member, you can check out mat squares. So more than half of our mats are actually on right now. We are, point being is because our mat's done, we have significant others and spouses that are actually trying out jujitsu at
Oh, for
home
the
for the
first
first time.
time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude,
And
well,
it's
that's a
been
silver lining.
really cool to see. And some of them are like, well, maybe I'll do a class when we're all back. And I had a couple of them sit in on the online class on Friday, and it was just amazing to see people who had said like, nope, I'm never going to train, actually like on the mats with their spouse or significant other and just like enjoying it and smiling and laughing. And it was incredible. So I think for anybody listening who has like a spouse or significant other out there, this is the time to get them to try it out,
Yeah,
because
it's
there's nothing
always
else
a
to do at
great
home.
feeling when
Yeah.
that happens. I know when I opened my gym, you know, I had like many moms
Hmm.
that had been like sitting on the sidelines for like 6 years. And then
Yep.
all of a sudden, a crew of them all joined when I started this gym. And it's been awesome. Like, so rad. It's like the full crew of like parents, like training. It makes me super, super happy. And it's like,
Yeah.
especially when it was like, oh man, they felt comfortable enough to try, and it's like just continually creating little opportunities, little
Yep.
like the doors open, and like, because it's hard to walk through. I remember like being nervous and like, it's
Oh
like
yeah.
creating that culture
I
and
sat
just like
outside in my
always
car for
doing
30
it.
minutes. Yeah. Like I sat outside for 30 minutes before my first class. I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I here? I'm in Soto. I am never in Soto. This is really sketch. Like, oh God, do I go inside? No, like I sat there for 30 minutes. I'm like, I don't want to go in, but I want to go in. What do I do? Yeah. That was my day one.
Yeah, but look
Um,
at you now, man. I'm like, I love like, I've seen a lot of people come through, and it's like
yeah.
so exciting, just like seeing people like achieve, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's pretend that coronavirus is going to be over soon.
Hmm.
Uh, Pretend or wish or whatever the word is for it. Positive thinking.
Yep.
What are some of your future goals? What are your future goals for competing, for in general? What are your like wish list goals right now?
So I actually opened up a gym in Portland with my friend Greg, and it's right now it's Muay Thai only.
Okay.
We have 3 locations, and we were actually at a very good point before coronavirus hit. But the goal for me for that gym is to have a grappling program in there, hopefully this year. That's the goal because again, we want to find the right fit for our gym
Mm-hmm.
culture. I do want to be able to compete again. I kind of flip back and forth between striking and grappling right now. I really want to fight it again because it's really, really, really fun. Like I know, rolling around is awesome, but there's something cathartic about elbows and knees and like full on like striking arts. So I want to fight, I want to compete, I want to keep building the business up. It's kind of just the usual, but then
Yep, the
even
same
yeah,
grind.
same. But then even more so, I'm determined. So all of you coaches out there, we're gonna run a kids tournament the first month that we're all back because the kids are overdue. They need to be celebrated. During a kids tournament, we might do like a ladies only tournament for cash prize. There's so many things that we want to do in our space. Um, and then we'll have, I think, a fight night somewhere this year too, like a showdown type of thing, just for fun and charity, just like a nice little fundraiser. Um,
Awesome.
so I have a lot of events I want to do because that's my favorite part of all of this is running the events.
You like to do
So,
that, hosting the
oh yeah,
events.
the
Yeah,
kids tournament we had, I think 50, 60, like 100 kids last time for both gi and no gi. Um,
nice.
and it was just really, really, really fun and just really good vibes and no negativity, no angry parents, just a fun,
Yeah,
friendly in school tournament. Um, and those are, I think, my favorite events. So just
for
lots of events.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool to like, now that I have my own gym, it's like, what other awesome things can I do in the space? And like planning those out, and
Hmm.
yeah, I like to do all kinds of little stuff. I'm gonna try and do some little like small scale like grappling events, like, and do them like streaming.
Yes.
I'm like thinking about like who do I want to handpick because I have some favorites, or like the people, man, because I've refed at events for, 15, almost 20 years. And it's like I've
Longer than
watched
I've been training. Yes.
everyone coming up. And it's like, man, I have my like dream matchups I'd like to see. I have some like rematches I'd like to see. And, I know Austin Daffron puts on the Washington Submission Series.
Yep.
And I like that model. I think that's a cool model. I like to like being a former competitor, how can you get some money to competitors? How can you get them some notoriety coming up?
Yep.
And so, it's always cool. I know you guys are always doing lots of little events. I know like Weissman is always doing them. It's like really cool to see. And it's not as hard. It's not that hard. And the technology now, dude, you can do
Yep.
so much. And it's like, yeah, it's really exciting. It's exciting. It's like a nice way to help the sport grow. Um, yeah, and to kind of showcase we've got a great talent here in the Northwest. I like
Oh yeah.
We've got some like really good people out there, and I just love like, part of like coming to terms with like getting older and like not competing. It's like I'm really excited to like kind of be like, man, now my focus can be like creating a venue for those people that are like coming up. It seems like the next evolution. It's like I don't always have to be the person doing the things. It's like there's other
Hmm.
things and like other ways, always like adapting to like what can I do now? How can I like help propel this forward for everyone else? And so it's like, yeah, I like those kind of projects and like, yeah, I like seeing, like I said, you're always doing those kind of things too, always doing different stuff, and I like that. So
Yep.
cool. So it's a good thing for the sport. It's gonna help
Yeah,
the sport grow. All right.
absolutely. I was gonna say I think we'll be running some more seminars too. So definitely, if you guys are free, come join us.
For
Like we're gonna have
sure.
Amanda Lowen up at some point from Oregon because she was one of my favorite training partners and teammates from way back when, and she's somebody I
Hmm.
also like look up to quite a bit. So I'm excited to have her up at some point. It's supposed
For
to be early
sure.
April, but then COVID kind of screwed all of that up.
Yeah, yeah, I'm a huge fan of Amanda. I'm gonna try and hit her up and see if she'll be on my podcast. I know, yeah, I've watched her come up, and I'm just like a huge
Uh-huh.
fan, like I said, of her. Uh, Hillary down there.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's like tons of good girls, and yeah, awesome. I know you had Steph Smith out there. Who
yep.
else have you had? You've had a lot of seminars there. You had
I've had Hannah Stuck a couple times. She's
mm-hmm.
wonderful. She's my
Yeah, she's
favorite.
rad.
Hmm.
She's a beast.
Rick Lucero, we've had up a couple times
Awesome.
because that's Roland's professor, one of
Okay.
the Dirty Dozen. So we'll have him up probably at some point this year when, again, all the COVID stuff dies down.
Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool. Anything else you want to tell me about before I let you turn loose?
I don't know. I think that's everything. I mean, I feel like we can touch base on everything for hours on end. So, yeah. No, I'm just happy that you have your own gym. It's super awesome to see you like thriving. I'm just really excited for you. So,
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. Come up and visit once we're open. You know, I think I have the softest mat in town right now because we did the tire float. So
yes.
yeah,
Okay.
we're built for like I said, comfort.
All the
You can
throws.
get some
All the throws.
giant throws, right? It was funny when I first started here, it was like we got the floor, and then I was like, we were having double leg day,
Yeah.
or double leg week. And it's like after double leg week, it usually sucks,
Yeah.
right? But I was like letting people do like, dude, sell the throw, giant slams. And I was like, totally fine. So, yeah, yeah, you'll have to come up. We have open mat on Sunday, so you can come up and check that out sometime.
What time?
11 to 1.
Okay.
You have to,
We have our full schedule on Sunday. So we actually have
yeah.
classes. Sunday's one of our biggest days. So we have the 10 a.m. ladies class for level one, 11 o'clock ladies level two, and then 12 o'clock adult level two. So we
Oh, yeah,
literally
you're the
have,
full stacked.
yeah, and then kids are in there too, plus a little bit of Muay Thai. So we have a big schedule, but I'm sure we can find another time to get together.
One day, yeah, we'll make it
Yeah.
happen. I know, like, I had that problem. It's like when you run a school, it's like jujitsu time. You don't get to
All the
train
time.
at
Yeah,
other times. And when I
exactly.
was not running a full schedule last year, man, it was awesome because I spent the time like going and meeting everyone in the community, checking
Yeah.
out everyone's gyms. So yeah, I enjoy that. I feel like that was one thing I was like always stoked about is always like making the time to get to other people's places and like see how people do it. So yeah, whenever you have some free time, come on up.
Sounds good. Thanks, Cindy.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for
Okay.
your time. All
Absolutely. Talk
right.
soon.
Yeah. Okay, so that's another episode done. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Sonia. I really appreciate her opening up about her martial arts journey, about her business, and kind of the evolution she's gone through over the years. That's always helpful for me to hear how women have overcome different hurdles, used different strategies to lead to their success. So I really appreciate her sharing. I have some more great conversations, so check back for cindyhales.com, or you can now find the podcast on Apple Podcasts. So check there as well. Thanks again for listening and have a great day.